Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Red Path. It's Dara and Jamie here with you today, and we're going to be talking about our experience at the event that was the Las Vegas Open. So grab yourselves a brew and let's dive in. Okay, what's up, everyone? And what's up, Jamie? How are you doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. Got a little bit of a cold, potentially COVID, but who knows? Oh, I'm not allowed to say that word on YouTube. We're demonetized. Whoops. Yeah, I'm
Uh-oh.
feeling a bit rough, but still in a positive frame of mind. I'm still kind of reeling off of this last week. The LVO, obviously, but also the World Eater stuff that's sort of just been dumped on us.
hmm
My hype levels are just honestly through the roof, and it's kind of pushing me through feeling like a piece of shit at the moment. So pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's like Christmas Day, but twice, right? It's like you
Yeah,
come down.
exactly.
Post-tournament blues was definitely softened by the arrival of the World Leaders Codex, which has us
Yeah.
all very hyped, as people may have gathered from our streams, etc., etc. But yeah, so we're going to be talking today about our experience at the Las Vegas Open. Not so much the games, because we've both released videos at this point
Yeah.
talking about, the different games we had, doing a deep dive into those. So if you want to see those, you can catch them on YouTube. But we're going to be talking more about the social side of it, the events, like our experience there, kind of, and how we got on. Basically, I think that's fair enough to say, right, Jamie?
Yeah, we really like whilst we were there, like just catching up, chatting, talking to all the people we talked to, it kind of became obvious, I think, to us at kind of about the same time that this social side of it was almost as if not equally or more important than the games themselves. Meet like obviously you and I meeting in real life for the first time was hype, but hanging out with everyone at the house, meeting people that we see on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, just it really added a whole nother dimension to the event, and we really want to kind of focus on that to give some positive thoughts to people who may be like a little bit less inclined to go to these kind of large events, because sometimes they do carry, I think, an unwarranted um, reputation of being, hyper whack, like win at all costs, and very cheesy and stuff like that, and very antisocial and neckbeardy, and that almost couldn't be further from the truth, quite frankly. Um, but yeah, like that's what we're here to talk about today, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, for me, at least anyway, while I really enjoyed all my games and I enjoyed the gaming aspect of the tournament, the social side of it was honestly what was the most fun part of it for me because, like you said, getting to hang out with a bunch of people for the first time, like properly, was like very, very hype. And yeah, just like the general atmosphere and buzz about the place and everything, like the bubble wrap around the actual games was really enjoyable. And yeah, I guess like it's kind of like you said, to encourage people that might have a certain perception about these kind of tournaments. This is sort of the boots on the ground report of what it was actually like and stuff. Obviously colored by the fact that we knew going into it that we were going to be meeting up with friends, etc., etc. And to be honest, I would say that if you are going to go to something as big as the LVO or any other super major, it's probably best to do it with some friends at least, because I feel like going to that kind of event by yourself would be quite a daunting experience, especially with any kind of social anxiety, because they are very big crowds, right, as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And just kind of piggybacking on that, because like we do have a few categories of stuff we want to talk about here. Obviously, the two of us stayed in an Airbnb, and we stayed with Mark Whitaker, Don Hooson, Ron Fippin, um, Jay, for a local guy from my scene, and that was us, right?
That was us, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I'm glad I didn't rudely forget someone in the house.
For
But
sure.
yeah, so there were six of us then in the house, which was nice. Now Jay didn't know any of you guys. Well, like me and him have met at a few RTTs, but so he came with that perspective of not really knowing anyone. Me and him, like I said, we've probably met two or three times at RTTs. We're not like we don't work together or anything, but we get on and we'll go out and eat on our lunch break and stuff. But he came and he didn't really know anyone. There were a few other guys from the scene there, but they were staying at the hotel, at the casino. And afterwards, I did ask him. I was like, "Man, I hope you had a good time. And like being in the house with a bunch of strangers wasn't too awkward." He was like, "No, like I had a good time. Everyone was cool. Kind of like made him fit in as the ultramarine player in a chaos house. It's kind of a bit of a difficult fit there."
Daunting, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He said he had a great time, enjoyed all our company and stuff, and he's definitely considering going back next year. He said, I can't remember his exact words, but he's ready to put the grind on and because he played in the friendly event and an RTT, but he wants to go for the big one next year because he's a great player as well. He just missed out on the big ticket. But yeah, so that was like a comment from him as someone who was almost a complete outsider to the group in a way, right? Because he just didn't know. Whereas the rest of us know each other from Discord. Like obviously, I've met Mark and Ben before, and we all had a familiarity. So, what was your feelings with our house, like with our little conglomerate in the party house in the Rhino?
Strong feelings. It was awesome. I thought it was like one of the best things about it because like it's kind of difficult. I've obviously gone to a bunch of tournaments myself over the last like few years or whatever, and like if you have a rough day at an event, and I'm sure you get this as well, Jamie, right? Maybe day one doesn't go amazing, and you just go back to your hotel room and you're by yourself, right? And you're just like, oh, kind of takes the wind out of your sails. But going back to the house, it was like magnified, especially for you, right? After day one, we tried to really take the wind out of your sails.
Oh my god, yeah,
we
here I
we went
am.
hard on you.
I was 1 and 2. Like, I got my
And
win.
boy, did we remind you that you were 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, like at every opportunity, and there's me saying, "Hey guys, I'm facing custodies. Give me some help. Like what do I need to do into this list on this mission?" And you're all like, "It doesn't matter. You're only 1 and 2. We're all 2 and 1 or 3 and 0 or whatever. You
Yep.
suck. You're terrible. Quit 40K." That's basically what I had to deal with night one.
It was,
Well,
I
night two
mean,
after the first day. Yeah,
yeah, for real, the house was like one of the best, I suppose, like aspects of the whole thing because we were able to just communally either like hype each other up or commiserate or whatever the situation was. Like you had a support structure there, right? And like it was just tons of fun hanging out with everyone, like talking absolute rubbish, playing games because Mark had brought down a bunch of terrain, so we were actually able to
yeah.
get some practice games in the days before. And just like the sense of community that really kind of keeps the vibe up with the world leaders and stuff. The awesome sense of community that we have was really, I feel like it was channeled into that house in like a non-cheesy way. It was just awesome to have like I say, this support structure where whatever the situation was, there was going to be someone hanging out being like, hey, let's chat about it or whatever. And all the good memes and stuff, like we had the Age of Sigmar chair where like if you sat in it, you had to talk about how much you loved Age of Sigmar. We had the FLG glasses, which got right here, where if you were explaining something like how much you loved an X, Y, and Z, like Aeronautic Imperialis, you had to put them on. I think about that. This is about the time that we hard cut one of your explanations in or something.
All right, so what you do, you don't concede the game, okay? You never concede the game, even if it's a dipshit, okay? What you do is you go to the table, you place your terrain, you deploy your armies, you take the fucking bullshit that your opponent's offering you, and then when the clock goes on you, okay, you got your 1.5 hours or whatever is on there. I'm just going, I need to use the restroom, the clock's on me. You walk off, you go, you get on the phone, you play some fucking, I don't know, Clash of Clans, you call your wife, you do whatever you need to do, take a big old shit, get hammered, it doesn't matter. Then you say, oh shit, it's been an hour and a half, you walk back, you just ignore the person, you pack your army up and you fucking leave. Okay? They then have an hour and a half to, they'll score, they'll get their 100 points or whatever, but you've wasted an hour and a half of their day because they're a piece of shit.
But yeah, so that was like a really awesome experience, I think. Because it felt like we were doing it as a group, right? We weren't a
Yeah.
bunch of individuals playing games. We were actually in there for each other. And like during the event, we were checking up, being like, hey, how's everyone else in the house doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it just meant that you always had someone to find if your game was done early, or maybe there's someone coming over to you to see how you're doing. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think, especially as someone who's coming across, across the Atlantic Ocean for this event, like knowing that I had this kind of group that I would be with the whole time was, it was very reassuring.
Yeah, I think there's also a uh, I don't know what the word is here. From a financial standpoint, staying in the hotel at the casino is expensive. I did it at the ACO, and it's incredibly expensive. Like if you've got the money, that's fine, and you do get an element of convenience being able to just walk to and from your room to the event hall. But staying in the Airbnb and sharing the costs with between six of us actually freed up quite a lot of money that we wouldn't have otherwise had. Um, like this is something we brought up. Like our Patreons basically paid for you and I to go to fly there, our event tickets and our accommodation. Give or take, I think you kind of got a little bit screwed on the convention badges.
We'll get to that part in that section of the video.
But aside from that, like we basically zeroed out, and it didn't. Aside from buying overpriced beer and things like that and food, we saved a lot of money by staying in the house. So I do recommend that if you've got some buddies or some people you trust and know online and can do this kind of thing, 100% recommend it.
I think the best bit about the house was it was walking distance to the event, right, Jamie?
It is a waste of money, waste of resources. What the hell?
Right, there should have just been a Don Houston cut right there. I hope I remembered. Absolute garbage. Yeah. No, we're not talking about that because I'll get phantom pains in my legs again. So. Yeah. All right. So, well, talking of that, kind of in a really bad segue, we got to meet some people. Obviously, like talking about Don, there we got to meet Don because he stayed in the house. So it was obviously you got to meet everyone in the house, but Mark and
yeah,
Ron,
for sure. Yeah,
didn't matter. But we got to meet a lot of really cool people, right? So why don't you give us a bit of a rundown, and hopefully I'll have some photos somewhere on the screen.
Oh man, yeah. Okay. So I hope I don't forget anyone. So obviously one of the big things for us going to this event was networking. Let's be real. We wanted to meet as many people as we could just to chat to other people and stuff like that or whatever. And we met a bunch of other awesome creators. We met Tanya Gates, who was casting for most of the event, I believe, right?
She was involved with the FLG, like she works with or for
the live streams.
Val Heffelfinger and stuff, and does a lot of that aspect.
Yeah. So it was awesome to talk to her because we actually hung out the Thursday night, I think it was.
Yeah, the first day we got there, she was over at the house.
Chilling. Yeah, we were just chilling, chatting about Age of Sigmar, which is where the Age of Sigmar throne came from.
Yeah, it came from, yeah.
And yeah, it was really awesome hearing her perspective on a whole host of different things in the hobby, which was quite enlightening and quite fresh to hear. So big shout out to her if you haven't already, drop a follow on any of her socials because really cool person. And then at the actual events we met a lot of people. So we met the Joe from War Games Live. We met let me think.
And
I
Russell
met my hero
at the same time.
Yeah, Russell Tassin as well, who was there repping. I think he was bringing his Black Legion there as well, right?
Yes, yeah. Him and Joe was just having a chat, and we just interrupted him and got a selfie. It was like, love your stuff and all that. But yeah,
100%. Yeah, I met one of my heroes in the hobby, Kenny Boucher, who is an incredible painter. He's on the Long War podcast and a host of other things.
Just got a selfie with him and Demerki.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. And then we got a picture with him later on. Honestly, just such a cool dude. Real pleasure to meet him. I met Duncan Rhodes in the airport in my eternal my odyssey, as you called it, trying to get home. Yeah. Who else did we meet? We met Mike P from Warhammer, who honestly is as chill and awesome in real life as I anticipated him being. Really? Man just appeared next to me at one point with a beer. He was like, "Hey man, here's a beer." It's like, all right, awesome.
yeah, because I just met Sergeant Joel from the Discord. Like we was just kind of chatting, and then we seen Mike, and we went over and we got a selfie with him, and chatted a little bit. We also met Scary,
which was awesome.
Yeah, he was chatting to someone, and we just kind of interrupted there. Just spoke to him for a few minutes, and got
gave us a dice.
Yes, yeah, that is true. And then you covered Tanya. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I think that was pretty much the majority of them.
Yeah, of who we got pictures with because we did
Hmm.
meet an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, so aside from the people we were kind of fanning over, we did have kind of a weird experience with people talking to us, didn't we? It's
Yeah.
kind of surreal, right?
Kind of weird experience is probably a really big understatement. I was like really blown away with the amount of people that came up to us being like, "Oh, hey, love your stuff, love your channel, blah blah blah." I was not ready for like there were some people that came up and they were like, "Hey, I'm this person from the Discord," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, 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 what's up, dude?" It's like you feel like you have like a connection with them,
Yeah,
right? You're like, I know you, we talk, blah blah blah. It
yeah,
makes sense that you would come up to me and say hello, but like there was a lot of people that were just like, "Yeah, just getting started into World Leaders and found you guys' channel. Hope you're all hyped, blah blah blah." That was like pretty surreal. I was just like, whoa, because there
yeah.
was quite a lot of those people, like way more than I expected. I thought maybe two or three maximum, but there was. So
Well, like
if
on,
anyone did come up and say hello, thank you so much because you
yeah,
boosted our egos so much.
yeah. I know, like on the first day proper, the actual first day of the event, didn't I think you had like 6 or 7 people come up to you, and I certainly had 4 or 5, if not more. Um, and it was incredibly surreal. Like every now and again, someone will say to me like, "Hey, I watch your channel," but oh, excuse me. Oftentimes that's because like I kind of talk about it in my local scene, so like people
Hmm.
kind of, I'm hopefully not obnoxious with it, but it
This
is
felt
something.
organic though, right? Like
Yes,
quite
yeah,
like yeah, and it was awesome. Like in terms of, and I would say, if you folks who are watching are fans of any creators, not just us, but like any creators at all, and you see them at an event, it really is like awesome when people come up and say, "Hey, I like what you do," because like we're all playing 40K. Like none of us are actual celebrities. We're all just idiots who are like talking online, and some of us are recording what we're talking about. That's all it really is. But like in this case, I feel like it gave us like
a little bit of validation.
validation.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where like, it gave me the drive to be like, yeah, okay, cool. What we're doing actually is not terrible and people actually do enjoy it. And that's pretty nice. So that was awesome for me, just getting that sense of I suppose self-worth and kind of a pat on the back, which so
yeah.
like seriously, thanks so much to everyone who came up and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing." And yeah, if you see us around, just always come up because we're always down to chat and talk world leaders. And I think it was also awesome to I think we found all the other world leader players, right? That were there. We found so there was like 8 world leaders, and we, including the people in our own house, we did manage to track down all the other ones, including the guy who brought all the Greater Brass Scorpions, which
Scorpion
was
guy, yeah,
fantastic. And Shane as well, right? We met him on day one. We actually have
yeah,
a
that's
picture
right.
with
Yeah,
Shane.
yeah,
But yeah, so it was just wicked to find all these other people who had like a common interest with us, or people who were thinking about, starting collecting world leaders,
yeah,
which I think was an awful lot of people that came up to us as well.
yeah, yeah. That was a big part of it. Like the guys I would speak to on my smoke breaks, um, were like were sort of thinking about getting into it, sort of considering the army and stuff like that. A lot of people come up and were like, "Yeah, I'm finally ready to commit. I've been watching your channel for like information and stuff like that." So it is nice, like you said, to get that validation on that we are a resource. Like we don't claim to be top tier competitive or anything like that, but we are tryhards. Like we do want to win. But also in a positive way, um, enhancing the community. And it does help us to know that people are interested in what we do, and appreciate what we do. So yeah, massive thanks to everyone who said hello, introduced themselves. Yeah, it really added another level of coolness to the whole experience.
Yeah, it
Uh,
felt like everyone was there, that kind of a vibe. Like everywhere you looked, it was like, I know that person, or like there's just so many people here and things like that. It was a real who's who event,
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
But yeah, it was the social, like that in terms of actually like meeting people or like going up and chatting with people that you might know from, videos and things like that. That was really fun, I think, to do in between rounds.
one thing I just want to mention here. So I was out on one of my breaks between rounds, and I think I was just on my phone, and someone come up and said, "Hey, Jamie," and I looked, and I just saw a yellow shirt, which is what the judges were wearing at the tournament. So immediately I'm like, "Oh shit! Did I do something wrong? Like, have I submitted an illegal list, or I'm like freaking out." And I look, and it was Zach Rockner, the like he's been on the channel before. World Eaters plays multiple armies, but he actually works for the GW events team now, and was helping out judging. But yeah, it was just like we've not met in real life, so it was just cool to have that. But yeah, for a second I was like, shit, am I about to get yellow carded? If a judge knows your name and comes up to you, it's not necessarily a good thing. So
Yeah, right, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like it was just so cool to meet so many people. And yeah, I feel like we're at that really nice point right now where it's like people are still totally chill with like coming up to us and being like, "Hey, I know your stuff" or whatever. Because like I feel like there's no distance between us and the people who
Yeah.
watch our channel. Like I'm just like down to chat to whoever, and it's a great time. So please, if you do see us in the future at any events that we're going to, don't feel like you can't come up and approach us.
Right.
And especially if you've got a beer in your hand for me, definitely don't feel like you can't approach me.
And if Tech Priest Dicky is watching this, like like you need to let me know what you look like, man, because I only know you as an avatar, as like a little AdMech avatar. So I don't know if we spoke at the weekend or not. But I
Yep.
know he was there as well, and he's another someone else jumping on the World Eat as well. Has previously played and is bringing them on. But so the next thing we want to talk about is our kind of socializing, going out in the evenings, basically, and just having a bit of a good time. You want to kind of walk us into that one?
Sure. I'll walk us in by saying this. Vegas is expensive. Like really, really expensive.
Yeah.
I am so glad that our excellent patrons paid for myself and Jamie to go there because there's no way I would have been able to afford a trip from Ireland to Las Vegas, all the stuff the event cost, and then eating out every night, etc., etc. Because goddamn, but we had pretty fun nights every night. Like the thing is, we were usually pretty ravenous by the time we finished up our events because we didn't really have so much time for lunch, unfortunately. But once we actually got to the evening times, like the guys seemed to know so many fantastic places to go and eat. Again, another perk of going with a group, especially a group that had been there before. So was it the first night of games, we went to that fantastic Thai restaurant.
I
That
believe
was so
so.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We had pizza and wings the first night,
Hmm.
and then the second night I can't remember what we did. I
Oh,
don't know.
me either.
Yeah, because we went to the Brazilian steakhouse was after game two, after
That was
day
day
two,
day two. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then the Monday the Monday Sunday night was the burritos, the
Hmm.
Mexican takeaway. So yeah, I can't remember what we did day two.
Weirdly, me either. But you know what? That
Yeah,
will
it
remain a
was
mystery.
strange. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, so we went to some really nice restaurants on the Saturday night. It was my birthday, so the guys brought me to a Brazilian steakhouse because I'm a vegetarian, and that's funny. But I wasn't a vegetarian that night, I'll tell you that much for
you
free.
were not.
My
No.
God, yeah. So that was an experience. I think a spiritual experience was what I called it in the because me and Ron made Jamie walk from the event to the steakhouse. Well, I think we tricked him because Ron said it wouldn't be that far. It was going to be like 5 minutes, and it was like what 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah, we could actually check in the Discord chat from when we left
Yeah.
to when we got there. It was, yeah, he said, "Oh look, it's just like it's not even 2 miles." Well, 2 miles in a straight line is very different to when you got to navigate the highway and everything.
Right, yeah. Yeah, as the crow flies, it was like 2 miles. But yeah, so that was awesome. I just didn't really know what I was signing myself up for once we got in there, but my
Yeah,
God, was there a lot of food. And it was just hype because there was a really big table of us and stuff. And
yeah,
I feel like that aspect of an event is like a lot of people sleep on that, where it's like they'll kind of go to an event and they'll probably just be like, oh, I'm feeling too tired. Even if they go there with friends, they're like, I'm going back to my room, I'll just order some food in for myself and just have
Yeah.
that. But the social aspect of everyone going out for dinner every night and just like not necessarily even talking about the games or talking about the games if they wanted to, but just like unwinding together as a group after a long day of games was really, really cathartic, I thought.
Yeah.
Especially like if any of us had had a tough day at the tournament, I think it really took a lot of the edge off the day. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Just being able to kind of process and digest everything, but also to get like whether you're looking for feedback or a bit of support or advice, whatever it is you needed, you could very easily get. And if you just wanted to kind of like focus on anything but 40K, like we did that, we'd just talk about other shit. Um, but that element of hanging out together, on top of the house camaraderie that we established. But like that night, we had Rob from Mark and Don's club, and his wife came along with us to the Brazilian steakhouse. Ben Sanson came with us, and we just, all sat there and just had a great time and took the piss out of me for eating non-stop, which
It was
I
incredible.
told you was going to happen. Um, but yeah, like being able to chill out. One thing I think is a bit of a lesson learned, and we did attempt this, but I think you definitely need to have one big night out, like a
Yeah.
good restaurant, and just you budget yourself money for that, to drink, to do all the good stuff. But I think a lesson learned is next time I do something like this, well, definitely to plan better. We've been able to either cook at home or eat cheaper for the majority of the time, and plan where you're going to buy your alcohol, because $10, $12
Or or
have a
just be
birthday.
me, have a beer birthday, and have the boys buy you a bottle of whiskey. Which is now
That is
somewhere in
true.
the middle of Philadelphia in a suitcase that has gone
You,
missing. But
you still haven't got your bag back?
yeah, no, they have no idea where it is. I know it's in
Oh,
Philadelphia. So after they told me it got taken off the plane, they were just lying about that as well. So a bunch of my stuff is just gone, I guess.
is it just clothing and whiskey?
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that it unfortunately also is the Metal Berserker that Ron gave me for my birthday, which is
No.
pretty sad.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And the Frontline Gaming t-shirt that Mark gave me. And most importantly, my mushroom shirt, which would be a bad vibe to lose the mushroom shirt
Yeah, can't
because
can't have that.
that's a pretty powerful item of clothing. But yeah, like for sure, I think it's like almost like a singular event though with the whole budgeting thing or Vegas because like it is just so expensive. It was like
Yes.
$12 for a bottle of Corona, which was a lot. Especially
I,
what I'm used to, given that like in the UKTC events there's like a Tesco's like always
yeah.
across the road or something, right? But I think there is a lot to be said for preparing your lunches and stuff the night before. I did a chill game learn and all that stuff like a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Hey, I made sandwiches for everyone on
And
was it
I
the
had some of
second?
those
Yeah, you
sandwiches and
did
they
have
were
sandwich.
pretty good.
Yeah, I had one,
Uh
and then they just went in the trash. But
I think I had two. So,
you may have had to. Okay,
I
all right.
did
Yeah,
my
no
I
one
did my
else
job.
did. I kept
Yeah.
offering, and no one wanted a sandwich that had been sitting in my backpack for 12 hours.
Honestly, at that point it was like a toasted sandwich for me, so it was pretty good
Yeah,
vibe. But
yeah,
yeah, like there is a lot to be said for, if you are someone who is thinking of going to an event like this to actually sit down and plan it and kind of budget it and everything like that because it is a big expense and the nights out can be very expensive as well, but it is definitely worth doing at least one night out with the group, I think.
yes. I'll kind of that does lead us into the next topic, but I'll summarize that, because the big FLG events typically do take place at a casino or something like that. So you are kind of locked into being in a pricier area. Like at the ACO was in a casino, and there, like LVO at least had areas around you could travel to kind of easily. ACO was a bit more insular, and also I stayed in the hotel. Um, but that does seem to be a theme for the large FLG events. I'm guessing the US Open series from GW being in large event halls and hotels. So that is something you have to navigate. UKTC is a lot different because the UK is set up a lot differently.
Yeah, they just put us in like a really big hall, which is
Yeah,
usually in the middle of a city, which is
yeah.
highly convenient. for
Yeah.
many
And
reasons.
public
Also, mainly
transport
because
seems to
Premier
be,
Inns are like €40 a night,
yes. Yeah. So
which
yeah,
is pretty cheap.
yeah,
I think I worked out like for the entirety of Vegas, if I was to have spent everything, this is just to put it in perspective for people that might not be aware or might be considering traveling from abroad or whatever. So the entire cost of Vegas for me, so we'll say the event, the flights, travel, food, all that sort of stuff, would have cost on average 4 UKTC events worth of money.
easily. Yeah.
So that's a lot, right? If especially if you're somebody who's going to the UKTC and thinking about it, um, I would have been able to go to 4 events for the price of the LVO. Not to say that it wasn't worth it, because the LVO was awesome. It was
Yeah.
tons of fun, and I definitely do not regret it, especially because I didn't pay for it. So that was a good help. But it was totally worth it at the end of the day. But it's just something to keep in mind if that is an issue for you and you're having to weigh up the tournaments that you might be going to. Something to consider, I think.
Um, so that leads us into our kind of discussion on the event structure, and this is more like I think you said like a meta look at the LVO as an event. Things like length of round, time, break time between rounds, finding things like where to eat on your lunch break, for instance, was a challenge for us on one day. Travel to and from the event, all these kind of logistical things. Where do you want to start with?
I suppose we can start with kind of the general structure of like, getting in, and kind of like how it was all set up and stuff and
Yeah,
where it was, blah blah, how accessible it was. I think for the most part though, it was reasonably accessible for us to actually get there and stuff like
yeah.
that. Queuing to get registration for the event was amusing because we didn't queue. They just told us to skip the queue, which was
Well,
kind of fun.
because I walked up to the security guard or judge or whoever it was and said, "Hey, we've paid for everything. Do we go in this line?" Or because it wasn't kind of clear, and he just said, "Oh yeah, you're good. Just go up to the desk." So there was a line of like 200 people. I don't know whether he was right or wrong, but hell, if the security guy tells you to skip the line, you skip the line.
Right, yeah. Because then
We,
Mark and Don had to queue, which was
yeah.
pretty funny.
Hey, they walked off. They left us. So
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we got in and we got our convention badge passes and all that good
And
stuff.
everyone paid a different amount for their convention badge, which was pretty funny. You paid 0, Ron paid 25, and I paid 50.
Well, okay, so that one, unfortunately, we did figure out. Whilst you
Yeah.
paid 50, you paid 50 for me and you because I bought our tickets on the same,
Yeah.
like, same
Just a
account. But
funny
yeah, it was
quirk
like
of
we was
the
trying to figure out. I was like, dude, why don't you just go to this desk? And he said I was paid for. And the reason I was paid for is because you just paid it 5 seconds before on the other
right.
desk.
Yeah, it was quite amusing.
Yeah.
So I think like the organization was okay, I would
They
say.
are herding cats as well.
Yeah, they are. They
Herding,
are. So there's a certain amount of it
majority.
which is like down to the fact that gamers are just kind of wandering around like lost animals and also being drawn towards the shop hall, which is where all the nice goodies are and things like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was fine, I would say.
yeah,
Like not the worst, not the best, I think. And like the judges and staff were very visible and present if you did
yeah.
need help, and they were pretty accommodating whenever yeah, to go up to them for anything. So that was fine. But then I suppose we can talk about the rounds a little bit and scheduling between them. Because the rounds were 3 hours long, which
Yeah.
felt okay, I think. Did any of your games run like to time?
No, I had a couple come close, like my Votan opponent because he was kind of new. Like that one ran. I think we had about 20 minutes left. But we never held up. We never had a judge waiting, or I never had a judge waiting on me to score. But I was also, I'd always check to know where my table was, and I had a rough idea of where all the table numbers were. So I try and get there quickly. And I rock up to the table, objectives go down, I separate the terrain, I mark deployment zones, whether my opponent's there or not. Like the pre-game stuff that you can do before there's a dice down, I get that done because I don't want to wait 20 minutes for an opponent to be late and then have to do all that. And then we lose more time off our game. So generally, when the round started, I was good to go. So how
Hmm.
about you?
Yep. I had one game run overtime, my first Kraken Nids game. I
Right.
talked about that in my review
Yes.
and the reasons as to why that happened. But the rest of mine were done very fast in
Yeah.
most cases. I usually had an hour after all my games because I tend to like as you've always said, my list is the Ronseal list. It doesn't require a lot of brain power to operate. So generally, when my turn rocks around, it's like, all right, we know what we're doing here. So that was kind of okay. Also, it helped that I played into armies that were quick to face against, like
Yeah.
Inari, Knights, the Carnifex list. They were all very fast to play against. The Thunderhawk, it's not going to
Yes.
take too long to.
Either I die or he dies, something's happening.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So like I thought the round times are fine. The problem was more that there wasn't much time in between rounds to actually get stuff. Especially like the lunch break was really quick if you ran to the time because like you have to factor in that like if your round goes the full 3 hours, you have to account for like 15 minutes on either side for setting up before the next game and also dressing down after the game that you've just played. So realistically, you have maybe 30 minutes for lunch, which
Yeah.
is very difficult to do when all the gamers are going towards the same sandwich bar in the casino and there's a queue going out the door. Because like on day one, we like ate our food as we basically just like ordered it for takeaway and ate it on the walk back to the casino, which was not great, right? You want to
Yeah.
set
There
yourself
was
up
no
properly for
rest. There was no like real downtime. Um, I think something that I've thought about would be one if we do something similar again with like four, five, six of us all going and like staying together. The obvious thing is to bring food with you, but obviously some events don't allow that. Like this one didn't allow you to bring your own food in and stuff. But like if someone's facing knights, you go, okay, Dara, you're facing knights. Your game's probably going to be over quick.
Yeah,
Um, we're on these tables. If you finish quick, come and get us. We'll give you $10 each. Can you run and grab everyone a bacon sandwich or
yeah.
a veggie sandwich or whatever?
Man, $10 might get you like half a portion of fries in
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
these
it does
events
make sense.
are hard
Yeah,
because especially there, like every restaurant we looked at was like full or lined up, and we did just get lucky because I asked, "Hey, we don't want to line up here. We just want to. Is there any seats?" And they said, "Oh, if you sit in the bar." Well, we went to the bar and ordered takeaway, so we just made it back.
yeah,
But it was a
yeah.
close one. It was a close one.
Yeah, so that aspect of it made it a little bit challenging. And there was only 15 minutes between round two and round three on each day, which is also not a lot of time to kind of, chill out after a game. You're basically finishing a game, going straight into another one,
Yeah,
which is I would like at least half an hour, I think, between rounds, just to kind of
yeah,
vibe and stuff. So there was that aspect of it, which was somewhat challenging, but fine. Like if you're a seasoned tournament player, that's just you just kind of get used to that sort of stuff. So it's not
yeah,
really the end of the world, I don't think. So that aspect of the organization was again pretty average. Not too troubling, but possibly some room for improvement. But obviously, it's down to how long they have the whole opening times for. And yeah, I think that was like. Is there anything else in the kind of meta overview of the actual event itself that we need to go through?
no, not really. I do agree with the round times, like because it's such a large event and the tables are so close together. A lot of people with carts or carrying big trays, like you're
Dude,
trying to
sorry,
run.
that is something that I was not ready for. I had never experienced that in the UKTC events. People going around with these carts. I was
Yeah,
like, bro, that's some next level stuff right
I,
there.
I yeah, like I use one all the time. I didn't want to pay to bring it there because it would be an extra piece of check luggage.
Mm.
Um, if there was a way to get one cheaper than I think it's about $80 on Amazon, I would
Like
legit.
there is a market there to rent those out at the start of an event.
I do not. Lots of people talked about that. Why FLG doesn't do that? Even if they start with like 20 of them, you rent it out for $10 a day. I'd pay that. Oh,
100%.
yeah, but it's like a labyrinth because sometimes the flags with the table numbers on are like turned, and you have to kind of like crane around. Some
I did
tables
not
a bit
understand
slow
that.
over
Yeah.
them. It was kind of a lot of small things added up to make that journey between rounds. And especially if you're like me, where it was like I could win or I could lose. So I could go from table 200 to table 500, which is, halfway down the hall and
Hmm.
on the other side. So if you're just sticking on the top tables the whole event, you're fine. But for those of us who don't, then it's a bit different.
Yeah, and like the aspect of we're probably going to talk about it in another video, like the terrain and the quality of the
Yeah,
tables is something to be discussed. And I'm
yeah,
sure there's a lot of other creators that were at the LVO that were talking about it as well. And we will probably talk about it in relation to it, kind of putting it in perspective with like the UKTC and WTC boards, because now I've experienced everything. I've experienced the three main layouts.
yeah.
I'm just going to say that I think player place terrain is not good. We'll dive into it in another video, but like in terms of how the event was and everything like that, that's my opinion on that. And I think you kind of agree.
Yes, I do. Terrain is just one of those things because 40k is anywhere from a 2,000 point game is anywhere from a 2.5 to 3 hour game. You factor in there's only so many hours in the day. You've got so many people walking around. The thing is, the problem with terrain in general is if you do player place terrain, it might actually be quicker in some situations than changing the terrain for each mission because you don't have to do much micro measuring for player place terrain. Whereas if every mission has a different layout, you do have to adjust, which is a point in favor of US open terrain, but I dislike US open terrain generally. Do you see what I'm saying there?
I do, yeah. It's kind of the same with UKTC. You rock up to the
Yeah,
table and
you've
you
got
have
to
your
set
little
up the
booklet.
terrain. Yeah, like
Again, I when you work with your opponent,
yeah.
that should take maximum 2 or 3 minutes, though.
And the UKTC does establish a set precedent of balance of you know what you're going for, whereas player places you don't know what set you're going to get, and you also like some sets are far more beneficial to shooting armies or combat armies and so on and so forth. I
And if
think
you
that,
go onto a low enough table like I did at one point, some of the sets just don't have a complete set of
yeah,
terrain,
that's a problem as well.
which is a thing. But we're going to talk about that in a whole other video because
Yes.
there's a lot to discuss there. Just needless to say, our opinions on player place terrain are not amazing. And it's
So
probably my least favorite aspect of the gaming side of the event.
yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's build up the hypium again here.
Hmm.
First of all, question one, Dara. Would you go back at some point in the future to the LVO?
I don't think so. I
Really?
don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I
I
would
don't
be
mean
hard
next
pressed to
year.
go
I
again.
just mean at some point in the future.
I think when I consider the fact that I could, if the same amount of money was given to me, the same opportunity,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Would you like to go to the LVO or would you like to go to 4 events in England?" I think
Yeah.
I would just go to 4 events in England
That,
because, like, at the end of the day, right? This is the thing. The things that I liked about the LVO were the games that I played, and you can play games anywhere,
yeah.
and the people that I hung out with.
Yeah.
And those people can move to other locations, right? Like you, Don, Ron, Mark, like everyone, you're not exclusive to Vegas. It's
Right.
not like if I
Cool.
don't go to the LVO, I won't see you guys
Yeah.
elsewhere, right? For example, like if everyone was saying, "Hey, we're going to go to the LGT," I'd be like, "Awesome, that's wicked. Let's do that." Um, and those are the things that I like. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's a Warhammer tournament, and Warhammer tournaments are largely the same no matter where you go to them.
Yeah.
So the whole like, oh, it's happening in Vegas thing to me just means that it's expensive because
Yeah.
I
It
don't I
was a
don't get
novelty.
yeah, I don't gain anything by playing this tournament in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Because you're playing a tournament. You don't have time to go and see the sights of Vegas. You don't have time to do any of the things that people would do if they were in Vegas. You are stuck in a giant room with 900 sweaty nerds playing 40K. Like
Yeah.
that can happen anywhere, you know.
That is true. Yeah.
It's just that the precedent is there for Vegas being what it is. So I would say that I would, while I loved it, I really, really loved it, especially the social side of it. I can recreate that social aspect at different tournaments for a cheaper cost.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I would go back. Not next year, just purely because of the money side of it. Um, maybe 2 or 3 years. But okay, maybe not the LVO unless some way in the future I'm actually contending for like number one CSS or number one in chaos or
Sorry,
something.
that's a good caveat. Yeah, if I was like up there for top of X, I would probably go.
Yeah. But as a general event, like I did the ACO, I've now done the LVO. I would consider it in a few years if like money just isn't an issue. But I do agree that like it's actually cheaper for me instead of going to the LVO to go to the LGT to fly back to England at the time of year that the LGT is, stay with family, or even a cheap hotel for a couple of nights, whatever, and do the LGT. And I think that is something some of the top US players have been doing, is flying to the UK and hitting, like, staying for a month maybe and hitting up 2 majors and like maybe an RTT in the middle, and just getting for the same amount of money, if not less, but just racking up the points that way, which, because the UK scene is so much closer together and so much more
Yep.
cost effective, weirdly. Whereas the US, all the majors are in major cities dotted around the country. Unless you happen to live in a very lucky place with a very booming 40K scene, you are going to have to travel and make a long weekend and a big financial commitment to a large event like the Open and Vegas Open. I think next year, I would like to do one of the GW Opens.
I would like to attend one of those as well. Yeah, they seem interesting.
Unfortunately, they're not doing Chicago this time around, which is frustrating because Chicago's not too bad of a travel. It's like a long drive for me. But we'll
Travel
see.
is a big element as well. Like for me, the LVO means effectively a full day of
Yeah,
travel.
right.
And the LVO also means essentially a week off work, as opposed to a UKTC event, which sometimes doesn't mean any time off work because I can
Right.
fly out on Friday night and fly back on Sunday night, right? So for me, the decision is a lot of it is convenience based, right? And I think people who are watching this should understand that, like, my opinion isn't like, oh, LVO bad or anything like that. It's just like, well, it's pretty convenient for me to just stay here and do the same kind of size events here.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Um, let's wrap it up. I think overall, my overall experience, I had 6 great games in the major. I had 3 great games in the RTT we played. I had a couple of great practice games before the event. So over the 4 days, I got 6, 9, 11 games of 40K in 4 days, which I loved that. Hanging out with everyone at the house and meeting people at the event was 10 out of 10. All my games were fun and great opponents, 10 out of 10 for that. The event itself, I think, was the best that could be managed on the budget FLG is likely to have available, but also make some money, because they got to make money off of this. I don't feel that they really skimped on anything. Like the streaming setups were very, very strong.
Very professional. Yeah,
Yeah, very
streaming setups were
professional.
really nice.
We had Joe from War Games Live doing his thing on the side, which was great to give a few more people opportunities to play on stream. Unfortunately, we didn't get a World Eater on there, but maybe next time.
What the hell?
Yeah. The event, it's 1,000 people, and it's tough to organize that. I think they did very well for what they had. There was always a judge available if I needed one. Like, there was just a yell away. There was always someone there. I heard a couple of stories about Phil's bads from other people, but that's going to happen no matter where you're at. There's always
That's
going to be
nothing. That event organizer has nothing to do with that,
nothing
right?
to
It's
do with
just
that.
there's always going to be people who want it more than others.
Basically, you go to the LVO because you want, I'd say, the premium 40K experience. It basically delivered on that. There are opportunities for improvement, but not many. And I do agree, Dara, that yes, if you are a UK or EU-based player or easy access to those kind of scenes, it's probably more in your interest to stick there. If you're, I don't want to say farming points, but it's more efficient on your currency to do those. But I really enjoyed the event. I definitely consider going back in the future, and I think it's only going to get better the more they do it and the bigger 40K grows. So
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take much to twist my arm to make me go back, I feel, as well.
yeah,
If you said, "Hey, we're getting the band back together,"
yeah. In a
I'm
couple
a
of
plane ticket
years,
away.
if finances are right, me, you, and Jack go over there, meet the
I mean,
same
that's just that
group.
level of energy, which we may potentially experience this year at the LGT. Who
Yeah,
knows?
there is a strong
Who
possibility.
knows?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, okay. I think that about wraps it up for this one. Thank you to everyone for watching. I apologise for some of the censored images that should have been edited in as I was having coughing fits. But yeah, hopefully I remembered to scrub out all the coughing audio. Hopefully. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please come and join the Discord. All that normal stuff. Anything you want to close out with, mate?
You know what? Had a fantastic weekend, and once again, massive shout out to everyone who helped make it happen on our Patreon. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done it without you guys. Like literally, we could not have done it. So that was outstanding. It gave me an opportunity that I have no right to have had, you know. It was very surreal, I think, being there, knowing that it was there because of a silly YouTube channel that we've done, which was reaffirmed throughout the weekend as people came up to us saying that they enjoyed what we did. So thank you so much for everyone we met, for everyone who made it happen, and for supporting the channel in whatever way you could. And I think that will close it out from me. So until then, folks, and until the next one, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill Mainbar.